Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the NecroNomNomNom cookbook. After the side last week in the Oats of Dagon, this week we're on to the entree, deep-fried deep one, which looks like it's just going to be crab cakes. As usual, we're not going to share the ritual for this recipe, but the ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's say we head in that direction. Apologies if you're hearing rattling around the apartment. I've got the blinds open because it's actually a fairly nice day out, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So, for this recipe, we're going to need an egg. They say large, but I'm using an extra large egg. A tablespoon of mayonnaise. A teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning. Also a teaspoon of parsley. Quarter teaspoon of salt. Pound of lump crab meat that I've also gone through and picked out the bones and cartilage from. Not that there seemed to be much as I was going through it, but I wanted to make sure I gave it a good once over. Half pound of fresh salmon. A tablespoon and a half of breadcrumbs. They call for unseasoned, but I usually keep Italian style in the apartment. 3 tablespoons of butter. We'll need that for frying later. And then you can also serve this with lemon wedges, but I'm not going to because I've never liked lemon to start with. So, with that, let's head into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. The first thing you're supposed to do with this recipe is line a baking sheet with aluminum foil. I'm going to use a 9x13 pan because I'm going to need to be able to cover it later. Okay. That should work out. Put that over the sides. Okay. Let's see if we can fold that down just a touch. I'm trying to do this so my arms don't get in the way. Okay. That'll work, so I can get that out of my way. I'll move the lid out of the way as well. We need the mixing bowl in shot now. Actually, the aluminum foil can get put away. Alright, so now in a large bowl, which I've got right here, we're going to combine the first few ingredients. So we're going to take an egg. If I can ever get it out here. There we go. I'll bring that out of the way for a second. So we've got an egg right here. Hopefully this will, well, probably doesn't really matter. Just as long as I don't seem to get any shell in there and it doesn't look like I did, so we're clear there. Got a quick little towel. Wipe that off, and the eggs can go back in the fridge at this point. Right, now a tablespoon of mayo, which I'm going to have to open brand new, of course. Is there anything about... Come on. There we go. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to squeeze it out because I'm probably not going to be able to fit the tablespoon in there, but that's fine. Let me grab a spoon as well. I'm probably going to need to be able to scoop it out in addition to that. Okay. Grab a little bit extra there. Spoon. Okay. That can go in the fridge. See, then the seasonings. So we want a teaspoon each of Old Bay, which I'm gonna got the Old Bay right here. There we go. Always fun when you have to open stuff brand new on camera for the first time, isn't it? wonder if I'm going to do better just poking through this. I probably will. Give me the fork I had earlier. Come on. Far from what I had in mind, but it works. So that can get bin. I believe it's a teaspoon each of Old Bay and parsley. Yep. So we've got the aforementioned Old Bay seasoning right here. We'll grab a teaspoon of that. That can go back up. And then we need the parsley. They say fresh parsley, but I'm using the parsley that I happen to have. So a quarter teaspoon of that. Or, no, a teaspoon of that. The quarter teaspoon is of salt. Yes. And then we've got a brand new container of salt. Okay. That ended up being a little bit more than a quarter teaspoon, but the salt usually likes to run a little bit. Those can all get into the sink. Then we're going to mix those well. I don't think I've ever had crab cakes before in my life, so this should be another interesting experience. That's one thing I've liked about Mystical Munchies, is just the ability to experiment with things I've never tried before. Whether somebody else has cooked them for me or I have. Actually, that's a pretty good combination from the looks of it. That's probably about where I want to be right there. So, the next thing we're going to do is now we're going to bring the crab meat, salmon, and the breadcrumbs in. Which I'll have to open them out. Actually, let's start off with the crab meat, which is... crab meat's right here. I'm not too concerned about getting this spoon mixing that in, because it'll be mixing everything in a minute anyway. The salmon. The salmon might be a little bit big, but it probably won't be too bad. And the breadcrumbs. Which are also brand new and will have to be opened. Scissors are over here. And a handy dandy little 1.5 tablespoon measuring spoon. Breadcrumbs. Roll those down. Those can get put away as well. Get in there. There we go. Took me a little bit to get the flap in there. Alright, so now we want to mix this. We want to gently fold this together until just combined. Okay. That seems to be about where I want it to be. I'm trying to be careful not to excessively shred the meat. I think we're all good there, so I'll bring some of this back down. Alright, then the next step at this point is now we want to shape them into 8 discs, about half a cup each and up to 1 inch thick. We need our prepared baking sheet. Back just to the side of shot for that. I had a half cup measuring cup all set to go. So we want these to be, what, up to 1 inch thick. Alright, so let's give this a shot, see how we do. Okay, there's our about a half cup of meat. See if I can turn this over. Trying to form it into a disc. This isn't going to be a particularly pretty disc, but we'll do what we can here. I think that's about the best I'm going to get there. So I'll put that in the sheet. Then I'm going to turn the camera off so I can do all of that. I just wanted to do one for demonstration purposes. Then we'll come back with, let me wash the hands off real quick so I can actually properly turn the camera off. So I'm going to turn the camera off to shape the rest of these these crab cakes into discs, and then we'll come back with them all ready to go. The recipe wanted you to shape these into 8 discs of that thickness. I got 6 out of there. Of course, one of them ended up being very small, but still. That's not terribly bad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to cover this, hopefully with everything setting there. Perfect. Then I'm going to throw this in the fridge for at least an hour. It's probably going to be a few, just because I'm planning on this being dinner. But by the magic of editing, it's going to seem like I'm coming back to this after just a minute. But in reality, it's going to be a couple hours, so we'll be back later. Looks like the crab cakes seem to be holding together reasonably well. So, I've got a non-stick skillet out, which the non-stick is probably long battered on that. I'm actually going to move that over here. You can probably still hear the rattling of the blinds in the background. It's actually still a pretty nice day out, if a bit on the windy side. But I want to let some fresh air keep flowing in. Anyway, now we're going to heat up the butter in the skillet. Does it give a temperature for heat? No, it doesn't. So we're just going to put it over medium heat. If I can ever get this out. There we are. Let's put it over... Put it at a 6. That should be a good place to go with it. I'll grab a plate down as well, just so I have a place to store these when they're ready to come off. Definitely starting to move around, which hopefully it'll start melting soon. I'm just looking at some of the the last recipe. Where is it? Ah, here we are. Okay. Oh, this is going to be loads of fun. Looks like the next week's dessert recipe is going to be another one that needs some time to prep as well, so just kind of move that around a little bit. I'm just going to make sure I've got an open box of butter in here, and somehow... Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, cool. It was hiding on me, but it's in there. So right now it's the most exciting part of the recipe where we're waiting for the butter to melt. Trying to melt the butter on the skillet with the camera around is not the most comfortable thing in the world to do, because I've got to put my arm over top of the camera at a very weird angle so my arm doesn't end up dominating the shot. The other problem is really this burner is the only one I can go to and have the camera not up against, and have the camera be able to focus on it. But the spoon rest down. Looks like the butter is just about melted in there, so we should be able to start dropping the crab cakes in there to fry. Sounds like the butter's starting to sizzle in there. Technically it's actually margarine I'm using, but close enough. Looks like the butter is just about done melting in there. Okay, actually I think it's probably where I can start with it. So, we're going to drop the crab cakes in. They seem like they're holding together so far. We'll see what I think of that, but I'm just giving my hands a quick wash here. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to fry the cakes for about 4 minutes on each side, or until a brown crust forms on both sides of the crab cake. So we're just going to keep an eye on these until the crust starts forming. We also don't want to move them around too much, or the cakes are going to break apart. So we do need to be very careful about that. Actually, I could probably drop at least one more in there looking at the sizes. Move that one over there. I think we can make that work. That cake on the left side was never really completely holding together, so I'm not surprised to see a little bit more of a push kind of break it apart. Plus, these are also fairly big cakes, so I think that's playing into it as well. And I can't even really check them for the aforementioned crumbs, for the aforementioned crust. Because again, there's the problem that they might just break apart on me. I'll just step away from this for a second while they keep frying. Trying to move the butter around just a bit to help everything cook a little bit faster. And I know it's not the most exciting part, watching everything cook, but as I said in the past, it helps me keep from screwing these recipes up. So I'd rather take the chance of, I'd rather kind of have a little more boring parts of the videos than potentially screw more recipes up. And it's starting to pick up steam there. Give it about another minute, then we'll check to see how they're ready for turning. Okay. I think we'll give these a quick check and see how they're... See if we can... Oh, and they came apart. I was afraid of that happening. See if we can press them in a little more. But that's the basic idea at this point is, so this one looks like it came apart because I don't think it was ready to turn. But rather than bore you guys with this any further, I'm going to turn the camera off and we'll come back when all of these have been fried up and are ready to go. So this definitely turned into a tale of two pans. So for this batch of crab cakes, this batch had the half a cup of, I think it was half or a quarter cup. Anyway, I had the 4 tablespoons of butter on it. As you can see, it didn't hold together very well. It kind of broke. The couple of the cakes kind of broke apart a little bit on me. Whereas this one, I put a lot more butter in. This one I was moving around a bit more as well. This one I put more butter in. I put a full stick in. And I put the crab cakes in, and I set a timer on my watch for 5 minutes. I didn't even touch them for 5 minutes. Then I came in, checked them, then flipped them since they looked good. Set another timer for 5 minutes, and these ones turned out a lot better as far as the consistency is concerned. So, I think we're going to go with this plate of crab cakes, and I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. Despite being a pretty big fan of seafood, somehow I've never had crab cakes in my life. I don't know if I've just never ordered them at a restaurant, or never asked for them to be made, or never made them myself, but this is the first time I'm ever going to be having crab cakes. The kitchen has smelled very fishy all day, so let's go ahead and give these a taste and see what I think. I definitely like the consistency of this second pan a lot better than the first, just because of the changes I made in the cooking method, but let's give it a taste and see what I think. Definitely got a buttery taste, but again, that's because this was the pan I used more butter in. Didn't really taste the crab all that much, to be honest, and ow! I'm still I was hitting a sensitive spot on that side. So, kind of noticing that. But, didn't really taste too much of the... Okay, I'm tasting a little bit of the crab in there. It actually tastes pretty good. This was definitely a lot of work, though, so it's probably not a recipe I'm going to use again. But, yeah, just kind of be careful with the time you put this on, and be careful about not moving the crab cakes around too much, because they will break apart on you if you're not careful. But that's another week of Mystical Munchies in the books. So next week, we're already onto the last recipe of the month, and it's the dessert, Moon Beast Pies, which looks like it's chocolate whoopie pies with strawberry jam. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.